Today was final day in the World Indoor Bowls. Dougie Donnelly has the highlights now on BBC Two.
Hello again and welcome to our late night highlights of the final of what has been an outstanding World Indoor Championship here on the Norfolk coast. The standard of play has been quite breathtaking at times, and that is perhaps due in some way anyway to the large and enthusiastic crowds. Attendances this year up 80% on previous years. It's been Scotland's year, of course. They provided all 4 of the semi-finalists, and the 2 players who reached today's final have both won the trophy before. In fact, Richard Corsie is looking to set a new record by becoming the first man to win the trophy 4 times. His last win, though, came away back in 1993. And he's up against the very highly regarded Paul Foster, who's in the final for the 2nd time in 4 years, now firmly established in that world top 10. Well, I have to tell you that the final lived up to all the expectations. Another tremendous match. Let's take a look at the 2 players who are playing for that first prize of £25,000. Paul Foster is now 27. He's a postman from Ayrshire, plays out of the Magnum Club in Irvine, and here's his path to today's final. He opened up against Australia's Rex Johnston, winning that one 3-1, but was then in real trouble against Hugh Duff, 2-0 down before coming back to win it 3-2. In the quarter-finals, he beat the defending champion, Robert Wheel, in straight sets, and then in the semi-final, Alex Marshall by 3-1. Richard Corsie is now 34. He's world ranked 14, director of a very successful company in the bowls business, and he too had a problem early on because against Robert Newman he was 2-0 and 5-0 down before coming back to win it 3-2. In the second round he beat John Price by 3-1. In the quarter-finals, Les Gillett never really played to his top form and went down in straight sets. And in the semi-final, Corsie beat the world #1 and the favourite, David Gourley.
I'm arriving here today as the underdog once again, so you know I'm not expected to win, but I'm certainly not feeling like that within myself.
Today against Richard, it's going to be a good game. If I can play the way I played against Alec yesterday, then I must have a great chance. I don't think I've got a better chance of winning this title because a lot of people are probably surprised to see Richard in the final.
We played in the Scottish Masters, which was an excellent final. I think I went to 2-6 and 6-all and right to the last bowl, so I'm sure that something like that today would be nice.
I'd like to play Richard, so I've got my chance to get revenge.
Obviously, it would be nice to win the 4th equal record with David Bryant. We've both won it 3 times, but I don't want to think about it. I've got a job to do. If I win the 4, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Hopefully, I can get my 2nd world title today. It would be a tremendous feeling. I don't think anything could beat me winning my 1st title, but I said that people say you can't take the title away from you, but I'd love to win it again. It'd really make my week.
Foster the favourite, but Corsie made an absolutely wonderful start. He took the opening set 7-1. Foster, though, came back to take the 2nd 7-3, and that's where we pick up the story. In the 3rd set of a possible 5, they're all square at 2-all, and the commentators are John Bell and David Rhys-Jones.
Richard Corsie delivers the first bowl of the 5th end of this 3rd set.
Yes, and persisting with the 29-metre jack.
Corsie, yellow, preferring the longer jacks. Foster going short.
Not the best opening deliveries from Richard Corsie. Big chance again for Paul Foster.
Yes, Foster doing well on this length. Still 2 to Foster. And this could be Foster's big breakthrough coming up. He holds 2 shots. He's got another 2 balls to come. Of course, he has only 1. Oh, just wanted a touch on that yellow ball. Didn't get it.
The yellow ball's just fallen in. Might have given Richard Corsie second now.
Well, we've just seen Brian Daly signal. It's still 2. That is 2 to Foster. Important delivery here from Richard Corsie. Looking for something special. Needs to save with this, otherwise he's poised to drop a count. He's got a bit of running behind this. This won't stop. Well, a very un-Corsie-like delivery, that.
Yes, he wasn't too happy with the previous end in this direction at this 29-metre length. I'm surprised he didn't just go for his 27-metre length that he's been playing so well. Well, anyway, big chance for Paul Foster. Free draw for a third shot.
Yes, just a little overweight with his previous delivery. Takes a foot of weight off and he'll be in the count with this. A touch on the jack, he could just make 4. Great last ball there. Paul Foster, the man to take an opportunity. It was there to take. Slots it in for 3. That was a very good draw there, John, and that's the sort of shot that you've got to slot in if you're going to win games.
Yes, you can't afford loose ends like this at the short sets game. Paul Foster taking full advantage. Perfect length draw. 3 good shots to him.
So suddenly, Paul Foster, the 1998 champion, putting some clear blue water between him and Richard Corsie. He leads 5-2 in this third set. Poor start by the standards of these two.
This young man's had a great championship, played some exceptional bowls, shown great skill and character. Came back from 2-0 against Hugh Duff in a very difficult game.
A little bit of highway robbery there from Richard Corsie, sneaking the jack away. And this time Foster, with his wide swinging bowls, will have to go very near the side of the rink. He's played it well. Beautiful bowling there from the man from the Magnum in Irvine, in Ayrshire.
Well, Richard Corsie gambling with the weighted shot, going for the jack. He's very close. And the only danger with that glory shot is that he leaves the same draw available for Paul Foster.
Well, yes, he's a bit of a gambler, is Richard Corsie. He does go for that kind of shot rather more often than most players.
The form that this man's on, I'm sure that's it. It's in. That's set lie.
No, he can't afford to miss with this one. He playing the same shot? Yes, he's playing the same running shot. He doesn't want the gap this time. Either bowl or jack will do. He's got one of the counters out, so he saved the set. And that was the bottom line there. The jack through would have given Richard Corsie 2 shots. One of the shots out, cuts it to 1 and saves the set.
Yes, Richard Corsie playing the percentage shot, looking for the jack or the shot ball. Fortunately gets onto the shot ball, reduces the tally, saves the set.
Pressure on Corsie now as Foster takes a 6-2 lead in the third set. The 3 times former winner, Richard Corsie, cannot afford to drop another shot in this set. On their only previous meeting, Richard Corsie defeated Paul Foster in the final of the Glasgow Classic a couple of years ago, winning a 5-set thriller, 7-6 in the 5th set. Look at this. This is an unorthodox play for Corsie. Jack in the ditch. So he is an unorthodox player, almost arrogant player. He'll play the shot that he wants to play. Was that the right shot, John?
Well, if he'd covered the jack in the ditch, it would have been David. But there's still quite a lot of distance between the shot ball in the ditch and the jack.
Well, certainly so far so good for Richard Corsie. Paul Foster failing to improve on his first bowl when he needed to put, well, almost 2 meters on. That flowing delivery from Paul Foster. The long step forward, the lunge down the rink. This has got to stop in order to count. It won't stop, will it? Just going to fall in. Brian Daly waits for it and picks it up. It's a dead bowl. Nothing for that. When the jack is in the ditch, the counting bowls have to be on the green unless they are touchers. In other words, unless they've touched the jack during their original course, which Corsie's first bowl did. Well, Corsie now holding 3 shots and the pressure very much on Foster. Would you believe it?
Yes, he's certainly been unhappy with his previous 2 deliveries. It's a fairly straightforward draw. Nothing in his way. Just got to get the weight. Well, has he made it?
Well, it's the best weighted bowl. It's the bowl which is nearest the ditch, but the angles make it rather difficult to tell.
Pretty close, yeah.
Well, there we are. Pretty close, says Brian Daly. Corsie then, will he try to draw to beat that one, or will he put it in the ditch?
It's certainly worth his while to remove that last bowl of Paul Foster's. Puts it in the ditch, is certainly threed if he stays on himself, but it's wide.
So the fate of this set in the hands of the umpire. Dave Phillips from Swansea called on to measure.
There's not the measure, sir.
Dave Phillips from the Swansea club has recently been appointed as secretary of the Welsh Indoor Bowling Association. Read a shot. Yeah, that's and by that amount, at least 2 inches in it. That last bowl from Foster, taking the shot, which is good enough to give him the set. We talked about how important this third set was. It was Foster from 2-all, goes to 7-2 in just 2 ends, and now leads Richard Corsie by 2-1.
And that after having been 1-0 down, remember. And Foster seems to have control in the 4th set as well. We're picking up with the score 3-1 in Foster's favour. Corsie has already killed the end twice, on one occasion to save a match lie.
Paul Foster knows he's in the driving seat at this length. Here we go again. Brilliant.
Well, he's bowling like a machine now. Bowl after bowl, homing in on the jack to that 24.5 metre mark. And Corsie facing the moment of truth.
Yes, but very sensibly drawing this time, getting as close as he can. If he can't get the shot, he's got to stop Paul Foster from getting much lie.
Well, that's like the old Richard Corsie. He's only 34, but he's had a bit of a layoff from the game at very top level. And he's showing us that he can mix the draw and drive quite effectively.
Yes, and he's played long enough to know that these games can change. If he can weather this period of pressure from Paul Foster, get himself a couple of ends strung together, wins the set.
Bit of weight here.
Becomes a new game.
Spreads the jack out wide. Plenty of space now.
That last ball of Richard Corsie's given him the opportunity now to draw the shot. And a much better chance.
Got to stop. Wasn't running by much. Paul Foster was only 24 when he won the world title for the first time. That was 3 years ago.
Richard Corsie's wife Suzanne and son Cameron watching proceedings.
Richard needs to save with this. 2, maybe 3 down. Can't afford for this one to finish in the ditch. Better wait. And he can't keep a good man down. Corsie responding to the pressure. Wife Suzanne up there, she's going through torments, I'm sure. As Richard Corsie keeps his hopes alive, he's trailing by just 1 shot now in the 4th set. And who knows, the jack is lengthened. We may see a turnaround in fortunes. .5 metres then for this Richard Corsie jack, the 4th end of the 4th set. And John Bell, you were talking a few moments ago about Richard Corsie needing to weather the storm. Do you think he's done so?
Well, that looks well for a start on this long length. He's only 3-2 down in this set. Big chance to add another one. If he can sneak this set, and it's anybody's game again.
Paul Foster sticking with the draw with those wide swinging bowls of his way out to the side of the rink, and even that wasn't enough width. Look at that swinging away now. He really is at a bit of a disadvantage at this length. Corsie relentless now. He's putting the same pressure on Paul Foster that Foster put on him a few ends ago. Remarkable. Foster seems to be getting a little frustrated now. He missed that, not by a lot, but it was tight out of the hand. It was never really on target, even though it was only an inch or 2 away.
And psychologically, the situation will be taking its toll, because Paul Foster will know that he couldn't play any better than he has over the last few ends, but he hasn't got the shots on the board. Richard Corsie's managed to hang in there, retrieved the shot. And here we are. Paul Foster could be facing a full house against.
Yes, and Corsie bowling like a machine here. Just as though his bowls were radar controlled. What a grouping that is. Even some of the world's top players up there, looking down from the crow's nest, can't believe what they're seeing. 4 shots to Richard Corsie. That's Rowan Brassey up there, Alex Marshall looking on as Paul Foster has to hit to save. Oh, and he's done it. He was slightly tight. He was going for the bowls, but as an afterthought, he got the jack. A ricochet, off the rink it goes, and all that good work from Richard Corsie is spoilt.
Yes, another great retrieving shot. He's almost under the line. Just gets a bite on the jack, enough to put it out of the rink.
And relief there, oh, written on the face of Paul Foster. And it really is developing into the unstoppable force and the immovable object here. Oh, tremendous stuff. The score remains 3 to Foster, 2 to Corsie. It's the fourth set.
I think it just goes to show how important the driving shot can be. It's all about drawing, really, but when you're in trouble, there's only one shot to get you out of situations like that.
So Richard Corsie, virtually the same length, maybe half a metre shorter than when they first played this end. This a replay of the fourth end of the fourth set. The third end was replayed twice. One thing about these killed ends and replays, the big crowd here at Potters are getting their value for money.
Yes, they've got their value for money all week. I mean, some of the best bowling I think we've seen in this championship over the years. Portable rink playing extremely well, allowing the best of balls.
Corsie may just have edged it to good measure.
Still a line in for Richard Corsie on the backhand. Trying to get underneath his wing ball. Oh.
Contact would have been good, turning his own bowl over. Well, we think that Paul Foster holds 2 shots. So does Brian Daly. He's told Foster that. He'll be pleased.
He'll be more pleased if he puts this in. To give him 3, he only requires 4 for the match.
And look how wide he's going. Coming back all the way, but perhaps not in time. That doesn't count, but it finishes on the centre line of the rink.
Well, Richard Corsie could certainly do with another ball in the head. Nothing particularly difficult for him. He was on the line last time, down the backhand, just drawing in underneath his own ball.
Well, he looks overweight again. If he misses, he's going through. Well, Richard Corsie has played all 4 bowls on this end, and they're not particularly spectacular. He's only got 1 in there, saving a potential match lie. Now, John, what does he do?
Well, there's certainly chances for Paul Foster to get the 4 he requires. One of the options is just to play up on probably the safest option is to draw up on the backhand, just moving the jack 6 inches or so to bring his all 3 of those red balls in. He could, however, opt for the other side, coming down the forehand just over the weight to turn the yellow ball away. Depending on the weight he played, would determine whether he stayed in the head or not.
Well, they've all been looking at the monitor and at the rink itself from the players and supporters gallery up there. They've seen the possibilities, and what John Bell was outlining assumes that Paul Foster is going to go for a match-winning shot here, And that's what he's going for. He's playing it with quite considerable weight on that forehand to get the bowl and to stay. He could, of course, have drawn and tried to make 3. He went for the winning shot and missed it, and takes 2. But, of course, that does put Paul Foster on to 5, and Richard Corsie stays on 2 in this 4th set. This was his attempt. It was a good attempt, John, but it just tailed away. Perhaps not quite enough weight.
It was a little tentative. I think he was frightened of getting onto his own shot balls. Pulled it a little bit tight. But he saw his chance.
Stops on the brink of the ditch. Paul Foster's jack cast there. And the mat comes back to the tee, 24.25 meters. And this is the length to which Paul Foster has been bowling some phenomenally accurate bowls. Not quite so good this time, and he knew as soon as it left his hand that he was heavy. David Holt there on the left, and David Gawley, the world's number 1, who are reduced to the role of spectators for this this world indoor singles final. Don't write Richard Corsie off yet. Yes. Surely. Yes, that's the shot. What a brilliant bowl.
Richard Corsie on the backhand. Looking for over the strength onto the shot ball. Just on the wide side.
Well, he got a little bit of a wobble on that on delivery, and it went in a straight line for longer than it would have if it had been a smooth delivery. That's unusual for Corsie, one of the smoothest deliverers in the game.
Well, I think Paul Foster looking for a little bit of position there. If his shot ball is tapped onto the jack, that's the area that it'll finish up.
And Corsie asking for permission to come up to have a look at it at close quarters. Broke into a trot there for a moment. That's a very unusual thing. Corsie normally one-paced.
Well, there's certainly a chance for Richard to draw the jack off there. In a very close second. He rolls the shot ball away, a couple of rolls.
Corsie, the poker player of bowls, very rarely shows his emotion. Quite a good weapon, that, because although it's you don't show when you're pleased, you don't show when you're rattled either. Offline with this. Well, it is just possible for Paul Foster to draw a second shot here. He did just that, a very similar shot against Alex Marshall in the semi-finals. But he's prepared here just to take the 1 and put in a positional bowl. He's expecting Richard Corsie to use a bit of force here. And if he does, that's where the jack could go, John.
Yes, that's good bowling. Paul Foster being patient. He knows he's playing well enough. He won't mind it going to another end. He'll get his short length if he holds the shot at this end.
Corsie could score 2 shots with a perfect draw. Just overweight. Comes in for another second. But it's Foster who takes the shot. And the 27-year-old postman from Troon in Ayrshire is now within 1 shot of winning this World Indoor Singles title for the 2nd time. Three shots for Foster on the second end made a big difference, but he's consolidated with a double on the 4th and a single on the 5th, and now leads 6-2. A well-contested set of bowls this, the 4th. We've had 3, or is it 4, dead ends in that time, with the jack being sent off the rink. Both players responsible for that.
Well, Paul Foster looking for ideally a front toucher here, looking for 1 for the match.
I wonder if that's close enough. 7 or 8 inches from the jack. It could win the title. And when Foster delivered the shot, which is now in shot position, he was on the bat and bowling it almost before Richard Corsie's previous bowler had come to rest. One of the quickest players.
Well, he's had a marvellous championship. He's certainly earned the title should he win this game.
Before the match started, Richard Corsie looked so cool, calm and collected, very relaxed. He's got the jack here. Into the ditch it goes. And a fortunate little flick on his own back pole pushes that into shot scoring position. Again, Richard Corsie digging deep and finding the answer.
He has had to be positive at that head. Bowler jack again. Saves the day for the moment. 1 ball left though each. Now then, Paul Foster, this draw for match lie.
Very wide. Just a foot away from the boards. It's running, but it mustn't run across. Well, we don't think it's run quite far enough. Shirley there, Paul Foster's fiancée, biting her fingernails. Paul Foster sitting there, watching and waiting. Brian Daly says, I don't know, but we think, from his body language, I think he said he favoured the red bowl of Foster. In which case, the title goes to Foster, and Corsie has to draw to beat it with this. He's got a nice wide line. How's his weight? Stopping, isn't it? Just about, that's the shot. A great bowl there from Corsie. It may be worth 2 shots. One given. Let's have a tape for the second.
Well, that was a great pressure ball from Richard Corsie. He knew if he drew the shot, it guaranteed his survival.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Never easy to draw to an off-centre jack, particularly when it's in the ditch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of course, he's going to get another one out of this.
2 yellow.
And that double puts him right back in the set. The former postman and now entrepreneur, owner of a bowls stadium, owner of a bowls distribution firm, Richard Corsie, is now within 3 shots of winning this set and squaring it off at 2 sets apiece.
Yes, his new Edinburgh Indoor magnificent stadium about to open in about 2 months' time.
For all the talk of Richard Corsie's revival in this set, Paul Foster needs only 1 shot for victory. Close.
You hold.
Paul Foster asks Brian Daly for the position, and Brian Daly says 1 to red.
Yes, and the ball between his previous delivery and the jack would do very nicely.
Match lie against Richard Corsie. Still a little bit too much running. Brave effort. Only a foot too heavy. And can you describe how much weight there is in that, John, between getting it right and being a foot heavy?
Very, very little on this 17-second carpet. Well, that's a good positional cover ball.
So Richard Corsie, as he has been throughout the match, walking slowly back to the mat. This, his last bowl of the end, his last chance to stay alive in this World Indoor Singles Final. The shot is against him. Paul Foster is the winner, unless Corsie can steal it.
He's keeping faith in his forehand draw. Got a perfect line in with his previous 3. Just needs to get the weight right.
Still running, it's through, and Paul Foster has won the title. The 1998 champion, Paul Foster, from the Irvine Club in Ayrshire, wins the crown for the 2nd time in 4 years and denies Richard Corsie the outright record he was looking for. Richard Corsie, 3 times winner of the title, shares that record with David Bryant, wanted to win it for the 4th time, but he's denied. Corsie, his 6th final. Paul Foster, his 2nd final. And Foster proved well up to it on this occasion and wins 7-4 in the 4th set and by 3 sets to 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our presentation party, Mr. Brian Potter, the owner of Potter Leisure Resort, and Nigel Oldfield, the Chief Executive of the World Bowls Tour. Our runner-up who collects a cheque for £12,000, Richard Corsie. And to our champion, who collects not only the trophy, but a cheque for £25,000. The Potters Holidays World Indoor Champion 2001, Paul Foster. Paul, many congratulations. You told us before the final that you didn't think anything would ever feel as good as winning this title for the first time. Now you've won it a second time. Are you sure it's not as good?
I tell lies, Dickie. I do. No, it's a tremendous feeling. But all credit to Richard. The first 2 sets was absolutely tremendous. I was just hanging in there. I managed to nick the second set, and then it's great bowling there afterwards.
You guys are always telling us how important it is to win the first set. You lost it 7-1. You had a few problems then, didn't you?
Yeah. I couldn't really complain though, because Richard was playing tremendous. He was nailing the jack with his first ball and put under a lot of pressure. So I had no complaints in the first set, but just said to myself, just try and dig deep and maybe get the wee breaks.
And when you did level the score at 1-all, did you feel at that point you had it under control?
I felt I was back in the game, obviously. I started playing more consistently, getting more balls in about the jack, and just from there on, I managed to nick the next 2 sets.
Let's just get a quick word with Richard. Richard, it's obviously disappointing to lose a final, but I think you'll be quite pleased with the week you've had.
I've had an excellent week, Dougie, but Paul's played fabulous bowls all week too, and he hung in well there, and he played a marvellous third and fourth set, so no complaints at all.
So you're still looking to become the first man to win the title in 3 different decades, which would be quite an achievement, but you've got a few more opportunities. Has this rekindled the appetite? We're going to see you again at this level?
Certainly, yes. I'm still there in the ranking list, so I've got the appetite back. I know I can compete with the best. I've given Paul a good game in the final, so I've maybe got a 4th one in me yet.
All right. And final word, Paul, just a word about the week as a whole. We've had wonderful crowds. People are saying it's perhaps the best World Championship that we've ever had. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, certainly. Hands down to obviously the Potter family, but the crowds this week are absolutely tremendous. If it wasn't for the crowds, then it wouldn't make it such a good game.
Congratulations to you both. Ladies and gentlemen, our Potters Holidays World Champion, Paul Foster. And Paul Foster's victory brings to an end an outstanding week of World Championship bowls. I hope you've enjoyed it. From all of us here in Norfolk, good night.